how do you make it not awkward when you ask for business though?
You don't. I don't think. I think it's like asking a girl out. It's like, hey, we've talked about this enough around the bush, kind of. I think you'd be making a huge mistake if you didn't give us a shot to win your business on this deal. He called me and he said, hey man, like I was pretty put off by that text message, and I was like, yeah, I can understand that. Don't take it the wrong way, but I'm really confident in what we do. I really think there's an opportunity to help you. I asked the right questions, I think, to understand where you want to take your business. And if we didn't have the opportunity to do that, I would be shooting myself in the foot.
Wow.
And he...
There you go. He's gone. What a way to start this podcast interview thing.
Yeah.
It's a little spider hanging out. All right. Well, yeah, this is just going to be a free-flowing conversation.
Cool.
I have a couple of questions planned out, but for the
Yeah.
most part, I don't really like come in with a list of like 20 questions that I have to answer. You can put the mic a little closer to you, actually.
A little closer.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
But yeah, how's it going?
It's good, man. Been doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. No, I've just seen like the work you've been doing with commercial lending, right? Yeah. And it seems like things have really been picking up now that we're into the summer with you. So it's been really cool to see you posting about like the different projects that y'all are funding and the different projects that are being built that you've been a part of or that your team's been a part of. So yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about that, and talk a little bit about, what got you into that industry, what your day looks like, just kind of, get to know that part of you a little more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I appreciate it. I think actually there's definitely some traction working with you in the past, kind of getting some videos going and being able to, and I can get into it later, but like the authentic side of our business is such a tough thing to come by. So
yeah, well, speaking of that, are there a lot of inauthentic people in your industry?
I would say we're in like a commodities business, right? The commodity of allocating money. And everyone shoots for the easiest process, which really takes the human side out of it. But when you're working with your money and other people's money, that's a super necessary factor to like keep you, afloat. And if you remove the human side entirely, it's like Uber or Lyft, right? Like you can't really call those companies and get help. So you really got to have that human component that stays in, and the authentic side, actually, giving a damn about what your clients are doing and their businesses is a big part that, comes with being local and also like having real relationships like in the business of real estate. So
Yeah. Because we see that a lot. I guess like in all the different industries you mentioned, like Uber and Lyft. I mean, drivers get really pissed off because they're not treated like people.
Yeah.
So they don't riot, but like they get mad and they demand this, they demand that, the other thing. And I mean, those people that are in the front lines are definitely the ones that push that business. And so I imagine too, when in your industry, when you start seeing things get automated or things being more dependent with like AI or digitally, I mean, business suffers, right? Because you want to be able to connect with people, and that human connection is what drives businesses.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I'm going to take this a different direction. We're going to get a little more like not into the business so much, but
Sure.
You're not from Texas, right?
No, I'm from Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio.
Yep.
Wow. And what did bring you to Texas? Was it literally like a job opportunity and you were like, all right, bye Ohio? Or
yeah, I mean, I'd moved around a bit. Family's all from the East Coast, like Boston, Rhode Island, Connecticut. We moved out to Ohio when I was 6, and it kind of just grown up there. Like, great place to grow up, great people in the Midwest. And then I'd gone to school in Chicago up at Northwestern.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, a decent amount of moving. Had spent some time doing like internships in San Diego and lived in Milwaukee for a little bit. But moving out here was basically just strictly business and kind of just taking a shot.
Really?
Yeah. So I'd met the founders of my company and through a mutual friend up at school, and they seemed like super cool dudes who were driven entrepreneurs. And I was like, I want to work with those people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like the job. Like the job was very interesting.
Yeah, but like with them, you wanted to be around them.
Like, these are guys that I want to work closely next to and like learn from. And so I was like our first intern at the company. And then after some time, they said, how are you liking it? And I was really learning a ton. So I love that. And they were like, well, we're growing a lot. So pick a market that you want to go and start us in and go move out there and start that branch.
Really?
So yeah.
Wow.
June of 2022, I kind of said, I think Texas, obviously the biggest market, one of the biggest markets for opportunity. I'm going to go do that. And I didn't know a soul in Texas at the time.
Yeah. But did you like literally look at a map and just like there, or like, did you study, did you research?
Yeah, it was, talking to, cause I was in the business, and I would hear things from people about what they liked about where they were working and other people they knew. And then just did some high level market evaluation on like, where were people building houses? Where were people, where could we help people? Texas is a super pro business state that wants, and has a demand for housing and real estate development. So I kind of was picking between Austin, Houston, Dallas. And
wow.
I was like, well, no one had ever said a good thing about Houston, which now I've gone.
Houston sucks. Austin's weird.
Yeah.
So that just leaves Dallas and Fort Worth. Yeah.
And Austin was tough. Like we're trying to get things going there on the business side more so now too. It was in a tough spot when I was making that decision. So kind of glad we didn't go there to start.
Yeah.
Just to kind of start a new brand is tough when you've got people that are struggling to some degree just with the boom and fall in that real estate market. So Dallas was kind of a good, not even safe, but good spot, comfortable market to move into.
Yeah. No, Dallas definitely has that reputation of being recession proof, and, the peaks and valleys aren't as high, nearly as high as anywhere else in the country.
Yeah.
It's a really, really cool place to do business, to hang out, to, build a network, build a business. So,
yeah.
So you moved here, you didn't know anybody.
Yep.
Your business is all about relationships. So how did you do that? How did you go into a city in a region that you didn't know anybody to say, okay, I got to start building relationships?
Yeah.
Like, what did you do?
I mean, like, we're in the business of helping home builders. So a lot of what I would do is, like, I would look and see who was pulling permits in the market and where were they pulling permits. And then I'd go drive around on Saturdays and walk around and see where there were new houses being built and look at the permits and say, oh, this guy looks like he's doing houses. Oh, I've seen this guy's name 5 times. Take a picture, or like literally like sometimes FaceTime people from their job site.
Wow. What would you say to them? Yeah.
Like, hey, what's going on? Like, my name's Jack. I'm, with this company, iFundCities. We're funding a ton of stuff just like this, and want to get a chance to meet you here about your business.
That's awesome.
And, it was just something that, like, no one really does that. Like I was saying, everyone's trying to move to as little amount of interaction as possible, whereas, you don't really build a relationship like that until you have interaction and you discuss things you agree and disagree with, and then you find kind of common ground there and start that. So that was most of my weekends.
Just FaceTime and permit poolers from build sites, basically.
Yeah, FaceTiming the guys who pulled the permits, sending them video texts, sending them texts, kind of looking on like Zillow, calling realtors, saying, telling them what I do and what I like, and like this kind of stuff that we're, involved in. And then on like weekends, it was just, I would walk down Greenville Avenue and walk into every bar and look for a seat at the bar, and there'd never be a seat. So I'd walk out and act like I was talking to my friend on the phone and go to the next one. And then met some people. Like, I'm pretty outgoing for the most part. So it's not like, it wasn't horrible, but like,
you didn't see that. You saw it's probably like something fun, like a fun way to, it wasn't like, that's awesome.
So it was kind of funny, like the same on business and personal. And it's like, then you meet people and they're like, they invite you places because you're new and you seem like you're kind of normal, even though you're the kid that was walking around bars, but you're
pretending to be on the phone with your friends, right? Yeah.
And ironically, like, met some, like, most of the time I would be talking to 50-year-old dudes who are building houses. And then at one point I met some people who were a little bit younger, and I would just ask them candidly, like, where do young people hang out here? Like, do you have any friends? Like, do you want to grab a beer or something? And then we'd hang out, and then I'd meet their friends and meet friends of their friends. And everyone, I think Dallas was very welcoming as a whole with that kind of experience, I noticed.
Yeah.
People were very open to inviting you out. Definitely folks who were, with the amount of transplants we have here, like, they were super open to, hey, come hang out.
They were you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of how it started. And then really just following up. Like, I think anyone in business as a whole gets that. Like, call people back, ask them how they're doing, remember things that they seem to be passionate about.
Yep.
And then just keep that going, and you kind of become friends or acquaintances enough to ask for the ability to do business together, or like hang out with them and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. How do you make it not awkward when you ask for business though?
You don't. I don't think. I think it's like, kind of like asking a girl out. It's like, hey, we've talked about this enough around the bush, kind of.
Yeah.
Is there any reason that we shouldn't be having a conversation about doing this directly and, like, actually making something happen?
I feel like it puts the ball on their court in a way, and it puts the pressure. And for me, I've learned Like, I just want to get to yes or no. I don't want to just dance around for years and years and years. Like, I just want to know, very simply yes or no.
Yeah.
Something I've been doing recently that's been really funny and also very effective is I just straight up ask people, like, there's this guy that I followed up with 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Trying to do the polite thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I finally was like, hey, I just want to make sure this project's still a priority for you. Mm-hmm. Is it? Yeah. Within 15 minutes, I got her. No, it definitely is. That's like, good. I'm just been swamped and blah, blah. I'm so sorry. Like, I'll get back to you by the end of this week. So like, all right, cool. Yeah. Put the pressure on.
Just call the elephant out. Yep. I literally have, where is it? My keychain. I don't know where I put my keys, but I literally have an elephant keychain on my keys. Right here.
Do you really?
And it's kind of funny. But like, you just call out the elephant in the room. Because if you don't think you can help someone, but you're friends, then you're just friends. If you actually think you can help someone and you're not asking them for the opportunity, then you're not really, right? What are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? Yeah,
like
you're not doing a service
doing
to
them a disservice.
Yeah, you're doing a disservice to both parties, to both people.
Yeah,
no. And that's having that mentality on it. And like, what you just said was so perfect though, about like, it's not awkward. Like you make it awkward. So just don't make it awkward. Just go ahead and ask the girl out to the dance. Like we've been talking enough about it.
Yeah.
That's a great perspective to have on it. And I bet, you not knowing anybody, not having that big of a network your first 6 months to a year, there's no pressure to like make it awkward or make it weird or ask questions. Cause it's not like it's not like they have friends that they're going to tell about, you know what I mean? Like your network's so small. So I figured for you, it was very easy to just be up front and just go at it for those first 6 months to 1 year.
Yeah. And you're gonna fail a lot of times. And also like one thing, I think it was, I'm going to butcher this, but like Daniel Kahneman, he wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, one of the like most intelligent people I've ever kind of read up on his knowledge. But he talked about in one of his books, or books about him, was like just worry, and like how if you're worried about something, not only are you living it during the time that you're worrying about it, but if it actually happens, now you live it twice. So why would you ever put yourself through that? Like,
jeez,
don't live it twice. Just don't make assumptions about the bad and understand that it could be bad, but you got to go see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if it's really that bad, then you probably shouldn't be doing it in the first
place. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I always think about that.
Yeah. And like 99% of the people that I follow up with that don't respond, it's literally because they're too busy. And you make it up in your head like, oh, like I said something bad on the discovery call, or like, oh, when I followed up the last time, like I pissed them off or offended them. Most like people are married and have kids and have a life. They're on vacation. They're in Cabo. They're in Las Vegas. They're doing whatever.
Yeah.
Like they'll talk to you when they're ready to, or unless you give them a really good reason, compelling reason to talk to you. So, just all those little things I've picked up on too over the years of just, like we make up so many things in our heads when it comes to talking to people and starting conversations. Just go have the conversation.
Yeah.
And make it easy.
One of the most interesting things is like when you do decide to toe the line, like everyone's in sales to some degree, right? Whether it's selling someone inside your business or selling your friends on an idea or selling someone a product. But I had one of my clients who actually we do a ton of business with now, and it kind of started with we'd had a couple good conversations. He was on the fence thinking about using someone else, and I just straight up said in a text message, I said, hey, don't take this as me coming off trying to offend you, but I think you'd be making a huge mistake if you didn't give us a shot to win your business on this deal. And
wow,
he called me. He didn't answer. I sent him a text the next day and said, hey, man, you all good? He called me and he said, hey, man, like I was pretty put off by that text message. And I was like, yeah, I can understand that. Like I said, don't take it the wrong way, but I'm really confident in what we do. I really think there's an opportunity to help you. I asked the right questions, I think, to understand where you want to take your business. And if we didn't have the opportunity to do that, I would be shooting myself in the foot.
Wow.
And he got one deal done with us, and after we closed our second deal, he said, dude, I always think back to when you said that, and I was like really mad at you when I read it, but then I look at now like how confident you were, and like now I'm really confident in working with you because you had that much conviction in like what you were doing.
Jeez.
And so it was
and
like,
now it's a client for life, basically.
Yeah, and it's not like I don't say that to everyone because I don't feel that strongly about every single person I talk to,
right?
Knowing that I can help them, but when you see it and it lines up, it's like just call it out. You know? You kind of have to.
Yeah. No, and I like what you said there about not saying that to everybody. And I think that's in the marketing world, that's what a lot of us do, unfortunately, is we're very transactional. we want to sign people onto like overpriced 6-month, 12-month deals that, you know, yeah, they can afford it for the first 3 months, but then they're going to start falling behind at month 5, 6, 7, and it's not going to do them any favors.
Yeah.
And so that's something, you know, I feel like I have to work twice as hard to build trust with people just because a lot of the people in my industry have such a bad reputation. So I feel like I have to overdo it on like the trust and the, you know, the honesty and the, you know, the vulnerability, because I want to just make sure that, you know, I'm being as perfectly honest and brutally honest and, you know, telling you that I can genuinely help you. And I feel like I can help you better, more than anybody else. To the point where I try and talk myself out of work. You know, I try and find all the reasons not to go pursue this person or go, you know, pitch this person or go give this person a quote or call them. I mean, I find myself not saying, you know, yes to so many people now, you know, and starting to really put like my blinders on. Like I just got told by somebody who, you know, who wants to work with me, like, hey, I want to introduce you to this guy because of this, that, and the other thing. It's gonna be great synergy, great energy. I'm going to tell them no, because it doesn't fit in with my plans, my vision. And on top, it's going to be a distraction. Right. And so having that, the conviction to be that honest, is what separates, I think, the good from the great, you know, as young as we are, you know?
Yeah, no. Well, and that, I kind of want to ask you a question, because I'm in somewhat of a similar stage, like 2 years into not building a business that I own necessarily, but building a brand and growing a business.
Yeah, within a business. You're like an entrepreneur, it seems like.
Yeah, to some degree. But for you, like you talk about like talking yourself out of business, but also like the fear to have that confidence when you don't have this massive track record to show everyone, right? Like when I came here, it was, we do all this stuff, you know, we're working with a ton of guys, we're doing a lot of stuff similar to you, and it's like, well, what have you done here in town? Who do you work with? And I'm like,
I don't have anybody, right?
Yeah, I was talking to this guy the other day.
Yeah.
You know him? He's like,
yeah.
I lucked out a bunch on that, actually.
That's
like
awesome.
Name dropping, and sometimes it bites you in the ass.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're like, yeah, I hate that guy. And you're like,
yeah, me too.
He's all right.
Yeah. I didn't get the good vibe from it either.
But for you, what was that like, you know, as you had, because I think you get some clients who are not going to do a ton of business with you early on, but you really value them because they give you a shot.
Yeah.
But what was that like for you, kind of starting this up and kind of having people start to give you a shot and then being able to use that as somewhat of a kind of a leverage point?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the story on that, because it's a story. So, you know, I've had a video production company now for 7 years. Like I was freelance videographer for 3. Damn. And then I started and then like after the 3 years of kind of figuring out how to run a camera, how to talk to people, you know, because I'd done it like in acting and this and that, but not for business setting. So I did that for 3 years. And then years 4 and 5 was all about, you know, realizing that this is a business, this isn't a creative pursuit. So I got to be wearing a business owner hat. And then year 6 and 7 is now the agency model, which is building a team. Yep. Right. It's kind of like literally like the Avengers. Like I'm just building a team of kick-ass people who can deliver on all the promises I make to clients. And so that's where I'm at now. And that's what's scalable. That's what's great. That's what's fun. And so what I needed to do was I wanted to niche down to a very specific industry, because I can't just be everybody's solution. And so real estate fell in my lap. Because I attracted one client, and then that client led to another one. And now it's blown up into this thing where it's like, oh, he's that dude. He's that video strategy guy that works with realtors. Yeah. So, and loan officers and anybody related with real estate. But here's the story. That was all like a little preface. The story is, 2 years ago, I had the idea of like, I want to start working with the realtors. And I was like, I'm going to DM like 50 realtors and see what happens. So I start DMing these realtors on Instagram, and nobody responds to me. And the reason why I believe nobody responded to me was when you look at my social profiles, like it's literally just pictures of my family and I on vacation. Yep. It's pictures, it's videos of like, you know, a funny, you know, reel, but there's no experience. There's no education. So when those realtors land on my Instagram profile, they're like, this dude isn't who he says he is. Yeah. And it's not compelling enough for me to reach back out to this guy. Right. His audio quality isn't that great on his videos. He's a little off focus on the video. There's misspells on his captions. So, you know, I don't trust him. And so what I told myself then was, I'm going to be absolutely relentless for the next 2 years in building my personal brand, so that when I send these DMs, it demands a response, because they're going to say like, this looks awesome. This looks great. I need to reach out to this guy. And so for me, it was this vision over, you know, for me, it's a 5-year vision starting in August of 2022 when that started happening, where I said, I'm not going to do any reach outs. I'm going to just be pure referral at this point. Yep. But I'm going to post so much on social media and provide so much value on social media that, like I said, there's no question that I do what I do.
Yeah.
And so that process led me to this year to say, I'm going to reach out to 3,000 realtors this year and loan officers and real estate professionals. I want 3,000 new people to know who I am. Right. I've already exceeded that goal 6 months in. So the number is now 6,000.
Yeah.
First of all. Second, we've booked over 150 phone calls just from that whole operation.
That's a pretty good ratio.
That's a great ratio. Yeah. And because a lot of these DMs even just go to like the junk folder.
Yep.
So I'm hitting people's spam folders and I'm still booking calls.
Yeah.
Because what happens is now when they go to my social profiles, like you have to scroll 20 times to get to the shitty content. You know?
Exactly.
Like you can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and still see me showing up, providing value. Oh, here's the realtors I work with. Like here's this realtor that I work with that just closed a $5 million house. You know, here's this loan officer who I've been building his personal brand for the last 2 years. Here's all the samples. If you go to my website, testimonials, you have, you know, like high producing realtors who are on their phones being like, thanks a lot for working with me, Alex. Because of you, I've done this, this, and that. So now when someone asks me, oh, who have you done work for? Go look.
Yeah.
You know?
And they might not even ask you, right? Like it's the proof of concept of I go to the page, I don't even need to ask because I've seen that name. You've
seen testimonials, you see reviews, you see examples of work, you see this you go to my stories and I'm with a realtor right now, you know, shooting, and you see the lights and the cameras and everything. It's been a very long process, but I told myself like it's going to take that long. Because it took me this long to build the business, you know, it took me this long to do that. It's going to take just as long to build something really worth it. Yeah. And so, you know, I really just told myself, I'm going to invest in this long term, which is the personal brand, and really build it out and really, you know, flex the muscles on social media so that whenever I DM a realtor and they go to my profile, they see me as the absolute expert on the problem that I'm looking to solve for them. Yeah. And there's no doubt in their minds. Like I can build trust very quickly now versus, you know, being ignored over and over and over again. Now I'm, you know, those people are going to my profile and the trust is built pretty quickly. Yeah. You know, where conversations used to be like, oh, like prove to me what you can do. Now conversations are happening like, give me your pricing. Yeah, within the first minute. Yeah,
they're asking you, hey, can we do a free sample first? Yeah, right, and see like how this works out.
And that's what I offer to them. Yeah, and then and they love it. Like, I mean, I sent some today. This morning, I had a conversation. I was like, hey, just checking in. You see the videos? Oh my gosh, absolutely love them. Like, what's your pricing? Yep, super easy conversation to have now because I have all the leverage. Yeah, right, and I provide a lot of value to them. You know, and so like I said, I gave you a very long answer because it was a long process for me to say, I'm going to shut up and build for the next year and then I'll show what I've done. Yeah. You know, and that way, any objection, any problem, any issue that anybody could have will, like, I don't even have to, like, the content will answer all of that.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was saying, like with, you know, when you start, everyone's kind of asking like, I need to trial this, right? I need to trial this. But now it's a question of, okay, I've seen all of these different examples. Even if you don't do everything the exact same way for me as you do for everyone else, I know you're going to be pretty darn close, and maybe I'm asking for tweaks on certain stuff that's more personalized, which in that sense it's like, okay, well, you're going to pay for that because that's really value, right? You know, so right. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, it's been a really fun process for me. You know, just in starting conversations, talking to people, you know, and like just mixing all of that up, the volume, the amount of people we're talking to, like the right people to talk to, how those conversations go. And really for me, making sure that the client experience is the same, whether I have 1 client, 5 clients, or 50 clients. It's making sure that they have a freaking awesome time working with me, you know? Yep. And that's where a lot of marketing agencies fail, is they're very transactional. They want to sign you on these like 3 month, 6 month, 1 year contracts where you have to like literally slit your wrist and give blood, you know? And like I'm dealing with somebody right now, I'm working with somebody right now who he'd love to give me a lot more money to work with him. But the problem is he signed a 6 month contract with a marketing agency he can't get out of, and he's paying $7,000 a month. Wow. Like $7,000 a month. And I told him, like, give me half that money and I will do X amount more than what the agency promised that they do for you. All organic. You know? Yeah. And so like, I hate hearing those conversations, and I've had them so many times with people where I just have to constantly tell myself, all right, well, how do I overdo it to make up for all the shitty marketing agencies out there to start giving us a good name, you know? And just making sure that the experience is good. Yeah. I think you saying that too is like, I mean, that's just translates to any business that's out there, and just like such a common theme. But the other thing is, like, not everyone is going to do a perfect job. And what do people care about? They care about that it can get fixed and that you can communicate well.
Yeah.
And that's something you really can't get without any kind of human resources.
Right.
So, like, some get screwed up. It's like, well, hey, I don't really love the way this turned out. It's like, if they can identify what the issue is, then we have the resources to fix it.
Right.
And I think that's something that definitely gets lost. And, like, with what you're saying, your goal is basically to say, we're not going to let that happen.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's a lot about managing expectations, and just being real. I mean, I feel like you probably handle that a lot too.
Yep.
When deals end up not getting done a certain way, or like this problem happens. So, but like constantly managing expectations with clients.
Yeah.
That I feel like that's something I have to do.
Yeah.
A lot. And I'm very happy to do it.
Yep.
Just trying to get ahead of problems before they happen and, bring solutions to the table. Basically never being on the defensive with anybody.
Yeah.
That's always the worst feeling. Like this morning I got up at 5:30. I was in my office at 6 and I spent 2 hours going through my clients and my lead sheet and just and delegating all of it or addressing all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like by 9 a.m, I had already started 50 conversations with people.
Yeah.
And the day was just starting.
That's great.
And it's great because now I'm just reacting to what the day brings me today. I don't have to deal with like those 50 conversations throughout my day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been really good, going from a recovering actor who didn't know what he was doing in the business world to having somewhat of a business now.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to expectation setting, that's a huge point. Like, especially in our business, it's like we're looking at a deal. Someone will come to me and they'll say, "Hey, what can you do for me?" And my first answer is, "Well, I don't even know if I can really help you yet. I have no idea, what you're looking to do, what your strategy is. I can find out, but you got to give me some information. Like, we got to be able, this is collaborative until we actually start talking about the deal." And I'm sure for you, it's the same thing. It's, "Hey, what can you do for me?" Well, if you don't know what you want me to do for you, then I have no idea. I can give you ideas, but that's just a waste of time, and it's going to confuse you if we don't have any kind of place to start.
Exactly. No, I have to ask a lot of questions, a lot of questions. Because I offer very templatized solutions, but they're applied very differently for everybody. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense. Because everyone needs social media content, everybody needs website content, everybody needs strategy behind it, but how you apply all that's going to be very different in terms of like how often, timelines, all that stuff. So it's a very loaded question when someone's like, "I need videos." Cool. Well, that can mean 100 different things.
Yeah. Are you educating, or are you just doing kind of like what we did, where it is like looking in and saying, how do we make this more authentic, and how do we bring out the people side of this business outside of the weeds and the smoke and mirrors that you're seeing and all the other conversations that every other person that does what I do every day.
Right.
And how do you get outside of that and bridge that gap?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, that's how we do things here. Just trying to be a little different, from everybody, and hopefully a little more authentic. But I think that's the theme is, just having authentic conversations, being real with people, building relationships. And it's really cool to hear how, you came to the city not knowing anybody to now you've built out, a good thing, and basically an entrepreneur within your business. It's been really fun to hear that.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, for sure.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you something. Oh, I guess for you, because ironically there's kind of a crossover between what we do and just more of a timing thing. Mm-hmm. Like in the non-bank lending industry, probably 2019 to now has been like the biggest increase in demand for private credit we've ever had. For you, I'm sure 2019 to now has been probably the biggest increase in social media and just the ability to get attention we've ever had. Like I don't know when the exact year would have been, but I've seen at least like with TikTok and all these other social media platforms, basically trying to get more to a short form content model, a huge increase in the amount of people that are actually making that kind of content and actually benefiting from it. So like for you, how did you, I feel like you do a lot on Instagram specifically and then YouTube probably as well, but like how did you target that? How did you change at all, if you were at all, your business model to like accommodate for that more?
It's staying ahead of the curve and being good at predicting what's gonna take off and what isn't. For video production companies, there's a lot of, it's a really weird industry, because a lot of the people that do video production want to do like big brand videos, big corporate videos, big budget with like cameras and all that stuff. The problem with those, let's say for example, I charge $5,000-$6,000 for a brand video, right? Which is a great price. Margins on that are great. I make a lot of money off of each one. But if I want to make $250,000 this year, how many of those do I have to sell? Close to 100. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of clients, and that's a lot of business development. That's a lot of networking. And that's a lot of transactional deliverables that you're doing, because it's just like a one-time project that lasts 3 months.
Yep.
And then if your bread and butter is brand videos, like you're having to go through a lot of companies to deliver, right? Mm-hmm. Versus social media, thankfully it started to attract a lot of creators and a lot of high quality creators, so they all needed help with that, and they needed a lot of help with that in the sense that they needed consistent help. So figuring out pretty quickly, okay, this is going to be a very sticky business where I'm very needed, and I'm not going to go away for at least a year if I play my cards right. Mm-hmm. And I could be finding businesses where I can be charging $3,000 to $5,000 a month for 12 months, and I provide value, and there's a return on the investment, and they see that, and they're happy, and I treat them well, and we're all happy, and they're referring me business. Yep. I'm around for a lot longer. Yeah. And so figuring out, finding people on social media who were doing that, connecting with them. I found like these kids who were like 25 years old, 24 years old, and they were like, oh, I built like a $20,000 a month agency just on social media. And I'm like, no, you haven't. So I bought their little course for like $97, and I was like, oh no, they're being serious. Like, this actually works. Wow. And so seeing these kids do that, where I think it was 4 guys, and they were bringing in like $40,000-$50,000 a month just off of social media videos. And I was like, okay, there's something here. Yeah. And so like getting way ahead on that and being like, all right, let me jump in there first. And then it turned from there into, okay, like, well, what niches, what industries really needed this? Real estate was one, because realtors, they love putting themselves out there. They love seeing their face all over the place. They have money to spend, and they absolutely need it to build a personal brand to succeed. Yeah. So no digs on realtors here, but we're all a little vain, right? But realtors, they need to put themselves out there. They have to put themselves out there to their organic networks, their personal networks, and they need to do it very consistently. And so if I can come in with options that say I can put you in front of your potential buyers, your organic network every single day for a price point that you're good with, like why are you going to say no? Yeah. And so for me, that was the journey for me on how I went, from video production to more social media agency to targeting a specific niche. Yeah. Because like that's where the market was heading, and I tried to stay ahead of it. Where whenever anybody thinks of short form video content for the real estate world in DFW, like I want to be the only person that gets thought of. Yeah, right. That's a huge market, and all the little things that come out of that too, because you have you have developers, you have loan officers, you have brokers, you have insurance, you have title, you have all these different, you have plumbers, you have home inspectors, roofers. You can think of all the different industries that come out of the real estate world. There's tens, if not hundreds of thousands of businesses like that just in DFW. Yeah. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And so yeah, just for me, it was that idea of just kind of staying, like 1 or 2 steps ahead of wherever the market was trending and getting in early. Yeah. No, I think it makes perfect sense. And that's, yeah, I'm sure you were shocked when you talked to those kids basically, and they were saying, yeah, we're doing 40 or 50. Yeah, I was more mad because, here's me like, theater major, this, that, I've done some really cool stuff in my life and was like struggling to figure it out. And these kids are like 10 years, they were like 8-10 years younger than me, and figured it out. Mm-hmm. And I bought their little course, and they were not BSing at all. Like, it was 100% legit. Interesting. Yeah. Most of those courses I'm just very wary about. Oh, yeah. There's not a ton of courses that I would buy necessarily that would help me. They're like little courses like that, I think. But at some point, everyone has a course, because they're like, oh, well, I can just charge people to view and stuff. It's like OnlyFans for education, But so where do you go from here? Where do you've been at this for 2 years now. You've built a network. You have a Rolodex of contacts. You're on projects. Things are good, right? because now you've made a name for yourself in your industry. Like what happens now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I do think about it a lot. A big thing is, kind of where you're at, right? You're starting an agency. So for us, it's, how do you build this business up and really just get in front of more people? Like there's absolutely, we wouldn't do business if there wasn't a high demand for what we do. So then it comes down to how do you reach out to everyone who is doing this in the Metroplex and in Houston? Like we've already expanded into Houston. We're doing probably as much business in Dallas as we are in Houston right
That's
now,
awesome.
Which is really great.
Yeah.
Expanding into Austin, even Waco. And I've taken trips to Houston, Austin, Waco, the Valley even.
Really?
Just to get out there and, start to plant some seeds. So now it's just growing that brand. And for me, I take a ton of ownership over it, right? Like, yes, we have our company here. iFundCities is in Texas, but my face is the one associated with every single deal that we're doing.
Right.
Right. So it's like I take a ton of pride in that. And it's not like someone's even necessarily going to remember that our company did the loan that they did. They're going to say, oh, yeah, that's my guy, Jack, who does deals with us. So finding, continuing to scale up and grow this business. And I'm going to need help at some point. Like I'm going to need to hire more people on just because, like, sometimes these deals are complex and they take a little bit longer to digest and work. And if you're actually going to collaborate with your borrowers, the people we're lending money to, it takes conversation. Like you can't just get clarity over email. And I'm sure, people make and miscommunicate over email all the time. So it takes time, but, for us, like, it's not like it's a money thing. Like we have the funds to go and build the business up. It's just, how do you get in front of more people who really are in a phase where they're growing their business, right? Where we can actually help them do what, banks might not be able to do, or their friends and family money is not, at the capacity to do. So finding and identifying those people and then working back to say who are the right people to work with. And it's really, it's like the 80-20 rule, right? Like 20% of your borrowers should do 80% of your business. Yeah. And so you find kind of the best operators of real estate, work with them, work with the people in their circle. And at the end of the day, you don't need that many clients to have a huge book of business.
Right.
And then it's, having the team that can help, be more of a resource, right? So helping people get into investment deals and learn more about it. The educational side that kind of comes with growing and having, one or two more people on the team who can help educate and have the time to spend with that. Whereas I can kind of sit in a spot where I'm working with our partners back in Philadelphia and like really strategizing, like how do we do more? Where are we going? Like we just opened up in California and started doing some business there now. So that's kind of like where I'm going to be. And then also like I'm buying real estate on the side now, kind of knowing the business.
That's awesome.
With a partner of mine and raising money for that. So it's all kind of, staying busy for sure.
That's awesome.
Which is good.
Good.
I enjoy that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that was a great conversation. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming out here and having
Thanks
a conversation with me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't really wrap these up. They just kind of end and then they end. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome. That was good.
Cool.
Yeah.